So we have David and Pauline. Both want to invest in property as part of a long-term wealth plan. However, David is not equipped and is solely taking the advice of the estate agent, not considering their hidden motivations or experience. Whilst Pauline is considering the feedback of her estate agent, she is also equipped with the toolkit to successfully analyze an investment opportunity. So my question to you, who is most likely to succeed? Well, you've guessed it, Pauline. So let's reveal the formula that Pauline used that I personally use for my own investments and those of our clients. When I first got started in property, I had no clue as to what a property was worth. And interestingly, not so long ago, many estate agents would simply call up another agent, get some idea of values and comparables and effectively wing it. But now we have access to tools to help speed things up. Just like a professional risk surveyor, we want to look at 3 valuation data sets with an optional 4th and 5th if we are already struggling. The 5th is a great bonus that we found out through secret talks with a valuer. Continue to watch to find out. So firstly, we want to find out what has sold. Second, what is sold subject to contract. And third, what is for sale right now, but not yet sold. And this can be done simply using Rightmove. But what if you struggle to find recent comparable? Simple solution, extend the search out by half a mile, 1 mile, or at worst 3 miles. Try not to go further than that. The closer, the better, of course. Now, as I mentioned, there's a 5th tool, which is a secret software amongst the valuer community. They don't tell anyone about this. It's free, but it's super powerful. So let me show you Acadata. So you go on the website, you go to where it says house price tools, and we want to go down to house price calculator. Quite simple, you just put in the property type you're looking at. So maybe it's a terrace property, the purchase price, we'll just put 75,000 for example. The year it was purchased, if you've got that detail, you can usually use that looking at through Rightmove data and get current value. So that's a short way to also use alongside your other analysis tools. If you're only looking to buy and sell a property, that is really all you need in essence. But for us and our clients, we predominantly focus on buying, holding and renting long term. So we're going to go into a bit more detail. And PS, even if you're looking to only flip, not all flips work out, so it's good to have a plan B. So the second major step in the analysis formula is rental comparables, and there's 2 ways to go about this. Number 1, use Rightmove, similar to what I showed you on the valuation side, but just switch it to renting. And number 2, gathering local knowledge. In our experience, Rightmove only goes so far. What about if there's nothing to rent close by? Plus, there's an abundance of local experts waiting and wanting to help. And so that's where you tap into calling a couple of good property and letting agents to get more perspectives. So they help us get an idea of the potential rent for the property in its current condition and the potential in tip-top condition, as both can impact your calculations. Now, oftentimes, every property will need some type of repair or maintenance, from minor like repainting to larger scale, such as installing new bathrooms, kitchens, upgrading electrics, even changing the roof. We personally nearly bought a property without even truly considering this. Give an example, was a property in Sunderland. Just from initial inspection, we thought it was probably going to cost around £10,000 to do. Because of our relationships and local connections, we even had the council off the record come and view it and inspect it, i.e. the environmental officer identified a load of issues which would have really caused some consequences down the line. And when we topped it up and calculated the cost, it came to nearly £30,000 to do the work, a lot more than we expected. And luckily we had that because that saved us from investing in that property. Now, I respect, finding out the cost to repair is one of the hardest aspects of analysing a deal, but it's crucial. And like I demonstrated from my own personal experience, the financial cost and time to do repairs can have a big impact on the bottom line. So my tip, find 1 or 2 trusted builders, visit their work, give them some small jobs to prove themselves. And if they do well, then get them to fully quote for a bigger job. Or if you built a good rapport and relationship with them, you can even go as far as ask them to give copies of the estimates and quotes that they've done for other jobs to help guide you on your particular properties. But saying that, if it's a medium to large repair, I would highly recommend getting a formal quote, itemized, broken down line by line as to what's needed and the cost. That's something our build team do. Crunching just the numbers lays the foundation, but it shouldn't just end there. In my early days of buying properties, I'd buy some really questionable locations. And on paper, they were amazing deals. But in reality, it was really challenging with tenants coming in and out. It was like a revolving door, repair bills stacking up. It just made no sense. So the numbers are just the foundation. We really want to build upon that. Looking bigger picture, the key is to analyze the wider area. and let's share a few things to consider. One of them is crime rate. To give an example of a property we were just analysing just a few minutes ago. It was in a really good city, but this particular street had a crime rate of 200 for every 1,000. For me, that's a really high ratio. It's like 20% of the time there's some type of crime. Number two, let's look at ownership rates. This is a really good foundation to look at. You know, nationwide, the average home ownership, be it outright or with a mortgage, is roughly around 60 to 65%. Well, you know that's a place where people want to live. There's going to be house pride and neighborhood pride, and as a result, that's going to attract the right type of long-term tenants as well. Third would be infrastructure development. You know, is there investment going on really close to that location, or maybe it's a commuter town that this property is in, but there's huge investment and infrastructure development in the major city locally. So these are just three really key things to consider, but please don't undervalue it because it's really key to help build that holistic picture of a total investment analysis. Oh, and another one is potential growth rates. You want to be looking at what's the kind of growth rate in the area. Oh, and you may be thinking, well, how do I easily find these data points? They are online in different places, but there's one really good tool called Property Data that centralizes all that information. I'll put a link in the description of this video. So this is Property Data, a really smart tool for gathering information from different data points and putting them all into one consolidated place. We'll just click on research, click on local data, we're gonna put a postcode, we'll click search, and then it's defining the area now. I've used a small location of one of the properties that we own, generate data, run the search. Let's look at those additional data points that I shared before, which was like, you click on demographics, and under here you can get a feel for like deprivation, work, travel, and we can look at things like, as I mentioned, demographics. We'll be looking at stock. You click on the stock button, and this gives you a good understanding of like what's a typical house or 2-3 bed, internal spaces, terrace properties, and we own a terrace one. Things we're looking at is occupancy. So it's saying outright mortgage, so let's call it 25 plus roughly 45, 25 and 45, just rough estimates, 70%. So it hits that high ownership rate. If you go to more, you can then click find crime. It's showing you the highlight of 59 crimes per 1,000. For me, that's really low, and it's actually quite good for what we find in the areas that we invest. And it just tells you in red kind of the detail of where those crimes are located. Other things I really like about it is, for example, schools. You can get an understanding of how good are the schools around there. So you can see there's some good schools, and there's one that requires improvement. And then you can also look at that planning permission, what kind of investment's going on, what kind of development and investment and infrastructure is going into that place. So Property Data for me is a really good tool to get all the information to one, get a better picture alongside the prices and rents, and really build this good holistic view of that property that you're looking to assess. Perspective is key. So going back to the example of David and Pauline, you can see that the formula I've revealed gives Pauline a really great advantage over someone like David when it comes to analysing and securing a good, strong property investment. But David, Pauline, and even myself need to keep practicing and implementing these steps to hone in on our skill. Over time, it will become second nature. And if you focus on a smaller geographical location like the Northeast, where I invest for myself and clients, our initial analysis is now only taking 10 to 15 minutes. Obviously, once we like the deal, we'll go into a lot more detail, but it saves time because we're looking at hundreds and hundreds of properties. By the way, we actually have a free deal analyzer that accounts for this, plus several more key elements too. So making sure you become a Pauline rather than a David when investing in property. Check out the Investor Toolkit, which has this deal analyzer, plus other valuable resources too. Just check the description and you can get the information there. Whilst knowing how to analyze a deal is key, without focus on the right strategy, you can end up confused. So check out this video where I grade property strategies from A to D so you can pick the right investment strategy for you.